teaching day 4. We are talking about pharmaceuticals for sleep. So pharmaceuticals is just a really fancy name. I'm sure we've heard it before for medicines. These were grown in a lab. They are chemistry based, and you have to have, typically you have to have a medical license to prescribe them, except for the first two. So a couple of notes about these. These are, well, I guess we'll go over them when we get to them. But one note that I wanted to say was just there's clearly a lot of money in this, okay? Because when I was practicing, this is what was available. And I stopped practicing less than a year ago. And these 5 have all come about in the last year. So I hope you guys don't mind. I have my notes. I don't normally hold notes because most of the time I just know what I'm talking about, but I did take notes. I did research these, and so I'll go over some things about these. Now when I go over these, I am going to go over like, oh, this is great for this person and that person. However, since you need a license to prescribe most of these, I'm not going to go into great detail about that because that's totally up to your prescriber. But maybe one sticks out to you that you're like, hey, I really want that one. But some people say, when you go over medicine or pharmaceuticals, you really are unfair because all you ever talk about are the side effects. But in my experience, that's all I really know about these medicines. I feel like I can't remember somebody being like, yeah, I just love that medicine. And so I think that it's important to know going into taking these, saying if you're going to go into your doctor, you're going to spend, to see me for 15 minutes out of pocket was $250. So granted, your insurance is probably taking on a big chunk of that for you. But if you're going to spend $250 to go to the doctor's office, I want you to know what you're going in for. So at any rate, let's dive into them. Okay, the first one is you can take antihistamines for sleep. So that's something like Benadryl or Unisom are the 2 biggies. This goes towards kind of a sedative effect, kind of like the herbs had that sedative effect. It really slows the body systems down. And so you're going to find side effects related to that. If you take these chronically, you're going to get things like constipation, daytime drowsiness, because most of the time these don't wear off in time. But these are great if you're not, let's say, I'm just trying to think, like, let's say you're at an airport, you're hopping on an airplane and you really want to, like, you're taking the red eye and you forgot your herbs. Benadryl would be a really good option to take one time once. Or Unisom, they are marketing for women for during pregnancy for morning sickness. So both interesting uses of those. You can also give Benadryl to kids over 4 safely. So please don't give them to your kids under 4. Oh, please don't. Okay. Melatonin is one that I'm sure everybody's like, I expected that to land on the natural list. And I don't blame you because I kind of went back and forth of when I was going to talk about it. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to add it into my kind of like bad day, if you will. I'm going to put this down because I can't talk with my hands. So anyway, so melatonin it's a hormone. It's a synthetic hormone. You can't go out and pluck melatonin out of the ground. And so I added it to the pharmaceuticals because it really isn't a natural thing. It's not natural for us to take melatonin. And the longer that you take melatonin, the least it doesn't work as well. And I heard that all the time. People would be like, oh, I started taking melatonin, I'm sleeping really good. And then they'd come up for their 3-month follow-up and they'd say, I need something more. My melatonin is not working anymore. So that is just something to think about. I do think melatonin is really awesome if you are, say, like a shift worker and you need to go to bed at a really, let's say you've only been up for 6 hours, but you need to go to bed to kind of shift that sleep cycle. I think that it's an okay use for that as long as you're not using it for, 5 out of 7 days of the week or for months and months and months. It's not for that. The other thing that I do find melatonin good for is for that, we talked about in the herbal, that kind of neurotic, overtired. So they have done studies that have been really promising for melatonin for kids with ADHD. I know I go back to that all the time because I truly do believe that kids with ADHD are really just sleep deprived. Not that that's the only thing that's going on with them, because there's definitely a genetic component. There's definitely other things. But if you can fix their sleep deprivation, you can make a lot of their symptoms go away. So, anyway, so melatonin is really good for that. I had a patient way back when I was first starting. I did family medicine, so I did peds and everything. And I said, well, this is really like cutting edge, because the study had just come out. But we put her, she had 2 kids, they both had ADHD, and we put them both on melatonin gummies before they went off to school. And it worked so well, but it was like wearing off towards the end of the day. And so then the teacher started giving it to them, and they were great. And the kids actually, it's funny because the mom was like, they've never slept so much in their life. They would come home, eat dinner, and go to bed at 7, which is a normal time for the age range that they were in to go to sleep, because they had to get up at like 5 to go to school. And so we were able to give them melatonin, I think for like 3 months. We gave it to them at school twice a day. They came home, they slept, and the mom came back to me and said, I'm not even using my melatonin anymore. So I said, that's great. And the kids were great. So I truly do believe that that's a very good treatment for ADHD. Trazadone is, if you go into the doctor, this is going to be probably the first thing that they're going to recommend for you is Trazadone. It is on every, when I just looked it up on every algorithm or whatever you want to call it, formulary, it's number 1 for sleep. Trazadone is an antidepressant. So it really goes back to that like anxious, mind racing. We used it a lot for our PTSD veterans. Very good medication for sleep, but it has all of the side effects of an antidepressant. The biggest ones being, I don't think I had a patient on it that didn't complain about sexual problems, just lack of wanting, or for men, lack of being able to perform. And then it's going to slow you down. So the reason that antidepressants work well is because they just really slow your thinking down. They make overwhelming situations seem less overwhelming, but they're slowing everything else down. So constipation, daytime drowsiness, all of that comes with Trazadone. The other thing with Trazadone is I felt like people maybe went a year on it before they needed something stronger, better, whatever. So that is Trazadone. The next one that, a good practitioner, in my opinion, is not going to prescribe these, but you would get people who had been on them for a long time, came to you and asked you for these for sleep. So these are actually anti-anxiety medications. They're called benzodiazepines. The most common ones are Klonopin and Xanax. And there's a good dozen that are in this group, and all of them can be prescribed for sleep. And they used to be prescribed for sleep all the time. They worked really well for sleep. They still do, because they really do help with anxiety, that anxiety portion of not being able to sleep. However, here comes this part that everybody's like, that's all you ever do. They have so many side effects. They interact with a lot of different, they interact with alcohol, Xanax. I always tell people Xanax with alcohol is a recipe for not waking up in the morning. Xanax plus pain medication is a recipe for not waking up in the morning. The 3 of them together people would mix all the time. And, the opioid crisis, this is a big part of it, because people use these for muscle relaxers too. And so anyways, the other thing is that they are dependent, or they are habit forming, as they would say. So let's say you start out on a 0.05 Xanax, you're going to progress in time up to 1 milligram, 2 milligrams. 2 milligrams is the biggest pill that they make, but people will take, I mean, I know people who take 10 milligrams and they're just popping 5 pills, and that's dependency. That is where your body gets used to the chemical and gets better at getting it, flushing it out. So it doesn't work as well. And that's within, you're going to progress to 2 milligrams within a year's time if you're on it. So, yeah, so that's Xanax. Ambien is one that they made specifically for sleep. It's only for sleep. Ambien, we were all so excited about Ambien when it first came out because it was the first kind of clean sleep medication. And in my opinion, it's probably worse than any of these. It will definitely help people fall asleep, stay asleep. Ambien itself is a slower acting medication, and they've made them longer acting, and then there's a long acting version of it. The biggest side effect that comes with literally all of these is sleepwalking. And it's not, you know, yes, we know people who sleepwalk, but this is intense. Every single night, driving in your sleep, operating the stove in your sleep. I had people who were on Ambien. Specifically, Ambien seems to be really bad at it. Lunesta also. Their spouses had to put child locks on the oven at night. Still, the people were able to get the oven on. I had one couple who the wife was just beside herself because she locked the car keys in a different spot every single night, and still sometimes he was able to unlock the car keys, find them, and drive the car. And that became a really tough situation between the wife, myself, and the patient, because I had to say, I'm taking away your Ambien and, you know, it's not safe. And the patient was really upset about it because they couldn't sleep. So, so those are specific sleep medications. I believe that if you are looking, or if you're on Ambien or Lunesta, that ginseng or ashwagandha would be a good one for you. These ones, I was going to say that valerian root is a good substitute for that one. And then this one, I'm actually going to write down Goyen, which I didn't talk about. Goyen is a herbal mixture. It's a juice, and it really helps with depression and anxiety. I've put at least a dozen people on Goyen, and they tell me that their sleep improves. So, anyway, so that's Ambien and Lunesta. These ones I got to get my notes out for. So Silenor is one that I remember them talking about before I quit. It really helps people to stay asleep. It has a side effect of sleepwalking. I'm not going to be able to tell any like personal stories about these or how they work because, like I said, they're so new. Which, in my opinion, if something is so new, I don't want it. Like, I just don't. Let's have it stand the test of time. Like herbs that are like in the Bible. That's kind of stood the test of time, kind of, maybe just a little bit. Okay, that was my own personal opinion. I don't even know how to say this. Roserem. Sleepwalking is a big one, and then daytime drowsiness. So a lot of these are like working so well, and your body can't process them that you're going to be sleepy all day. Which, in my opinion, what is the point of them if you're going to be sleepy all day? Like, the whole reason that we sleep is so that we're energetic during the day, right? Am I wrong about that? Maybe. I don't know. Balsamra has an interesting side effect profile. Not sleepwalking, but temporary weakness or paralysis of the lower extremities. And then sleepiness during the day. Those were just the two that I wrote down. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds terrifying. The other thing I was going to mention about Ambien Lunesta, and I'm sure it's true for these two, is that, you know, people would have crazy dreams. And I would say, okay, do you wake up feeling rested? And I just really don't think I don't think that they're actually sleeping, if that makes sense. I don't think their body is getting the rest and their brain is getting the rest that they need, because their brain is still active, right? They're still walking around. Their brain is having these terrible dreams, or just crazy dreams, or just very active dreams. I just think that really there's something, it's what they do is they turn off the central nervous system, which gives you a sleep like effect, and makes the conscious brain turn off. But I don't think that you're actually getting good restful sleep with any of these, just based off of the side effects that I would hear, and the stories that I would hear. So just something to be aware of, that I don't really think you're sleeping when you're taking any of those. 10 is Sonata, and this is what brings me to that mention, is because this says that it has short-term memory loss and lack of coordination. And we process our memories when we're sleeping. The brain kind of goes through the day and says, yeah, this is important, I'm going to save this, and that's junk, and that's junk, and that's junk. And so if we're not doing that at night, if this medication is preventing that from happening, is it even worth it? That's my question. I've never been on it. I don't know anybody who's been on it, so I can't tell you. But I can tell you from these, these people would come back with a lot of signs and symptoms of being sleep deprived, even though you'd ask them, oh yeah, well, I take my Ambien and I sleep 8 to 10 hours. And there's something in me that stirs that says they're not sleeping. They're not getting proper sleep. They may look like they're sleeping, even though they're sleepwalking. This last one, Day Vigo, is so new that it wasn't even an up-to-date, and so I can't tell you anything about it. But I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the medications, maybe some, ditch and switch that you could do. But that concludes our kind of deep dive into sleep. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it, especially the herbal part of it. Tomorrow we're going to do a Q&A session, and so I'm going to have a post that says, it has literally a Q and an A on it. And I want you to post your questions, or in these videos as they come up, post your questions, and I'll answer them live tomorrow. And otherwise, if you have questions, or if you really want to know more, if you just feel like, man, sleep is the tip of the iceberg for me, this girl needs to help me with everything, then please let me know. I do one-on-one consulting, one-on-one health coaching, and we can really just tailor a plan to you specifically and figure out what you need. And or if you know somebody, I'd love for you to recommend that. And otherwise, if you just want to know more, I'm happy to send you links. If you want to debate about anything that I've brought up, you disagree with what I say, I'm so happy to do that. I think that, the back and forth of opinions is how we learn things. And so I'm definitely open to that also. And I just hope that you guys had a fantastic week. I hope you're sleeping well. I'm so ready to read your aha moments.